Hello friends, welcome to the channel of Digital to Real. Today we are going to consider the following multiplexer where I0, I1, I2, I3 are four data input lines selected by two address line A1 and A0. And A1 and A0 are having combination of 00, 01, 10, 11 respectively. And F is the output of the multiplexer and En is the enable input. Okay, so we have four inputs I0 to I3, so it is 4 cross 1 multiplexer. Address lines are, that is the select line A1 and A0. Two address line, they are the select lines, and En is the enable input, and here is the figure, okay, which has been provided. You see, En is 1 only. En is equal to Z dash. Okay, A0 is tied to Z. A1 is tied to Y bar. And I2 is equal to Y. And I0 is tied to X, I1 is tied to X also, I2 is tied to Y, I3 is tied to Y bar, A1 is tied to Y bar and A0 is tied to Z and En is tied to Z bar. Now we have to find the function F, and here are the options given. So the function f x y z implementation by above circuit is, it is one of this four. So ये चार option दिए गए हैं. Function f, it is x y z dash, x y plus z, x plus y या फिर none of this. Let's do the solution. अब हम solution करते हैं. ठीक है, ये 4 cross 1 marks है. Input line क्या है? I0, I1, I2, I3, A1, A0 and this one is enable. वही same picture मैंने redraw किया. I have redrawn the same picture. So 4 cross 1 mux is enabled when Z dash is 1. That means Z is 0. So this mux is enabled when the Z is 0. So the mux is enabled for Z is 0. The mux is not enabled and output F would be 0 when the Z is 1. F is 0. A0 is tied to Z and A1 is tied to Y dash. Okay, this has been mentioned. Now, for enabled mux, when the mux is enabled, okay, when the mux is enabled for Z equal to 1. The mux is enabled for Z1 equal to 1. That means Z is equal to 0. So, when Z is equal to 1 for all of them, function is 0. 0, function is 0, function is 0 and function is 0. Whenever Z is equal to 1, function is 0. When the Z is equal to 0, the mux is enabled. Okay. So, now for enabled mux, A0 is always 0. A0 is always 0 as A0 is tied to Z and mux is enabled for Z equal to 0. So A0 is always 0. When XYZ is equal to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, A0 is 0, A1 is equal to Y dash, so it is 1. So A1, A0 is 1, 0. So I2 input is selected for function f. So f is equal to 0 as I2 is equal to 0, I2 is equal to y. So y is equal to 0, therefore function is also equal to 0. So xyz, when it is 0, 0, 0, function is 0. When xyz is 0, 1, 0, a0 is 0 and a1 is equal to 0. So a1, a0 is 0, 0. So I0 is selected. I0 is equal to x. So x is also 0. So for 0, 1, 0 xyz, 0, 1, 0 f is 0. When xyz is 1, 0, 0, a0 is equal to 0 and a1 is equal to 1. So a1, a0 is 1, 0. So 1, 0 is selected. a1, a0 is 1, 0 is selected. 1, 0 is selected. As I2 is connected to y is 0. Therefore, for xyz, function is 0. And last one is xyz is 1, 1, 0. a0 is equal to 0. a1 is equal to 0. So for 0, 0, I0 is selected. And I0 is tied to x. So x is 1. For a1, a0, 0, 0, I0 is selected, which is tied to x. And x is here 1. So function is f is equal to 1. So now what is the answer? Answer is A. So x, y, z dash. For this only the function is 1. For the rest function is 0.